let's get going here. All right, I have, okay, working on the recording now. Hi, everybody. Today is the 5th of March. I always have to check the date because I can never remember. It is Mod 2 2019. We're in week 3, and this is our second session of the week. So we're going to be doing our demonstration today for the assignment. We'll go over the assessment a little bit, just a couple of tips. And if we have time at the end, we will do 1 or 2 more critiques, the ones that we didn't get a chance to do yesterday. And we're just going to dive right in, okay? So, like I just mentioned, I could get rid of this agenda slide because every single class I do this exact same thing. I talk about it right at the beginning. And excuse me, actually, I want to make sure that I have my share here. Yeah, actually, we're all right. So the assignment number 3, we are going to be working on the draft of the poster, and the assessment is the 3 social media banner ads. So first thing we're going to do for assignment number 3, you're going to choose and you're going to research the designer. I'm going to show you where you're going to get that information from the list of designers. When you research the designer, you're going to take a look at those different elements that we've been kind of going over: colors, shape, line, font, texture, patterning, all those different kinds of things. You're going to see how this particular designer lays them out and kind of extract that information. You're going to set up your document, whether you want to use Illustrator or Indesign. That is completely up to you, whatever you're more comfortable with. And you're going to set it up as an 11 by 17. So you remember, 11 inches wide by 17 inches tall, because that's width times height. I have a Post-it on my monitor here that's probably been there for like, oh, I don't know, like 12 years. I just kind of transfer it over from monitor to monitor as I get new machines with, with the dimensions, and to always remember that it's length times width times height, or it's width times height, because I'm like neurotic about that. So for your assignment for page 1, we're going to do a mood board, which, like I mentioned yesterday, it's kind of like a great big compilation of brainstorming stuff. It's like a big collage. And on your mood board, you're going to make sure that you include a couple samples of images of the artist that you pick, some color swatches, just like we did in the flashcards, except this is going to be on the same page, some fonts, and you want to make sure you include the designer's name. If you want to list a couple of fonts in the font, that's great. If you want to just do the designer's name in a couple of those fonts, that's fine too, however you want to do it. For page 2 of the assignment, so this is the same thing, you're going to have your draft of your poster. So you have 2 pages there. You're going to use the provided text that, again, I will show you where to get that information, and pick an appropriate font or fonts for that poster in the style of the artist. Make sure that when you are designing with the text, if you are using elements like we did last week with the advertisement for Sky Studios, make sure you are applying those design principles: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. How does your artist provide contrast? What kind of elements do they repeat? Do they repeat lots of color? Do they have specific patterning? Do they like to use the same font over and over again? Alignment, do they like to center items? Do they like to just kind of throw it all? Is it more postmodern? They kind of throw things all down at the same time, and it doesn't matter where they fall. Proximity, is there a lot of negative space? Is there a lot of positive space? Is it filled out, really completely, really fully? So you kind of want to make sure that you are looking at those design principles in relation to your artists. Whoop, there we go. And on the 3rd page of this particular project, you're going to have all of your references for your imagery, your references for your information, And what the reason why this says Word document, Illustrator, or InDesign is because some people prefer to type out all of their information in Word, you know, get all the spelling and grammar accurate and whatnot. Excuse me. That is absolutely fine. And if you want to, once you're done with that, take it and transport it or transfer it into your Illustrator or your InDesign document. That's 100% fine. If you want to skip that whole step and don't write it out in Word and just write it out in Illustrator or InDesign, that's also absolutely fine as well. Just as long as your final document, your final file, is a multi-page PDF, so it has all 3 of those pages within it, and then submit it to me that way. Okay, so figuring out the style, kind of backing up just a little bit here, just to kind of reiterate, when you're looking at the artist's work, try to, excuse me, I'm like stumbling over my tongue here. You want to look at those examples and analyze, like I mentioned, how they're using point, line, shape, color, texture, type. These are all of the individual types of elements. You also want to look at how they're using contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Again, like I mentioned just a minute ago. While you're going through these, you might need to make some notes, maybe sketch things out, whether it's on a piece of paper, an envelope, a napkin, you know, whatever you got in front of you. If you are more comfortable sketching something out in the graphic program, that's also fine. We want to find those individual components and then, you know, lay them out. Use Illustrator to convert things to vector if you need to, and then, you know, modify as needed. I know that several people had emailed me last week when they were doing the assignment from last week. They were downloading various stock imagery and they were kind of adjusting the vector files, or they were, you know, maybe modifying the color of something or whatever. So there, you can absolutely do all of these different kinds of things. And you can also create from scratch. If you know that you are really handy at Illustrator and you've got a great idea and you want to draw something from scratch in Illustrator, be my guest. That is absolutely 100% okay. So we're going to do our secret question early today. And I thought this was really funny. I'm like a wicked big dork, but I thought this was really funny. What do you get when 2 dinosaurs crash their cars? And I'll take any answers from you ladies today. Although maybe I stumped someone. I heard this at my screen printing job last week and I got all geeked out, so I came home and told my kids. Anybody? Nice, there we go, T-Rex. Yes, we got 3 of you guys, nice. T-Rex. Well, prehistoric wreck, yeah, that's a good one too. So that's our question for this, for today. I was gonna say this week, but we had one yesterday too. So this is our assessment slides. We're actually gonna come back to this afterwards. We'll go over that after we have done our little demonstration. And for those of you that were not, that are not actually in the classroom and you're just watching the recording, today's daily checkpoint, there looks to be, well, I had several students mention that there's an issue with a broken link. I'm going to inquire about that today after this lesson. So I've probably already, by the time you're watching this, I've probably already addressed it. There was one link last mod that there was an issue with, and I did file a ticket on it, and if this is the same one, I'm just going to follow up on it and try to get that fixed. So just to let you guys know. Oh, goodness. All right, Chewy, okay. Let's see, we got the modules, that's where we're going. Apparently my daughter's home. Okay. There we go. All right, sorry, I just wanted to make sure that she can take care of him. All right, we are in week 3, and we are doing the assignment. So just to kind of I don't think we actually did this at all yesterday. We did our discussion. So today what we are talking about for the assignment is we are working on a previous style, very similarly. I'm sorry. I just saw your comment, Dobby. That's hysterical. Dobby says that her pit bull is trying to talk with my dog over here. Oh, that's funny. So yeah, so just kind of backing up a little bit, we're kind of doing the same thing that we did for weeks 1 and 2, where we're looking at a particular style and we're going to try to mimic it while we are creating our own style, our own designs, our own layouts. So when you're working with a style that's kind of based on something previously, you want to kind of think about these couple of questions. How is color being used? We've kind of, already gone through these a little bit, but how is color being used to show importance or move your eyes through the composition? What types of lines or shapes are being used? What sort of alignment are they using? What kind of elements are they applying to flow together, to fit together? Are there any repeated elements that the designer wanted to use, and how does that kind of bring cohesion to it? So, excuse me, kind of a few of the types of things that we actually saw in the critique from the assignment last week, in the critique yesterday that we had. I know the Victorian one was specifically had that patterning behind it and did a really nice job of kind of creating like a base and kind of making you feel like you were actually in the time frame. The musical, the sheet music on the grunge piece, kind of very similar, and they had both the sheet music and that kind of textured pattern was kind of doing the same thing. So what you're going to be doing here is the assignment information right here. For part 1, we have the mood board and the poster. Part 2 is next week. So you're going to download this folder right here. And if anyone has any trouble with this particular portion of the assignment, I know that this was also an issue last mod, which I also created a ticket for. Hopefully it's been fixed. And if I find that anyone is having this issue, that I will actually post an announcement about it, because I want to make sure that that is not a problem. So we have, once you extract all the information, there should be 2 Word documents in it. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's not it though. Where are you? Where did you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? There we go. Okay. So once you've extracted or unzipped it, depending on what you guys have for your computer, you should have 2 documents. You're going to have the designer choices and you're going to have the text copy for it. So the designers, it's just legitimately, it's just a list of designers. And come on, stop popping. Oh my goodness. Okay, these right here are your designers. Take a look at some of their work. My suggestion is to find one that either speaks to you, or maybe you take a look at the work and you're really intrigued by some of the effects that they use or the way that they lay things out. Maybe you want to figure out why they used the subject matter that they did. So you're going to pick one of these artists, just like we did with the eras. Okay. And this right here is your text copy. So this right here, where we're pretending that we are, okay, that we are advertising an art exhibit, a design exhibit. And so we need to make sure that we have all this. We have the first 2 lines are the title of the exhibit. We have featuring work by, and then it lists all of the artists. So make sure to include all of them. The location and the date, and then, kind of little tagline here for the website. Oops, I actually didn't mean to completely close out of that, but that's all right. So like I mentioned, we're going to be doing an 11 by 17 inch mood board, again in Illustrator or InDesign. And then the poster is also 11 by 17, very easy. And like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, create a Word doc that contains a reference list. You don't have to do that step if you would rather simply write it out in Illustrator or InDesign, that's absolutely up to you. That is your choice. And then submit it along with your 3rd page reference list, excuse me, as a PDF with 3 pages in it. So we have, we also have our file naming convention right there. And that's it. So we are going to get started. Let's see. Where did I put my, no, where did I put my list? I closed, there we go. All right, I think what we're gonna do, let me see, I did polish share last mod. Let's see. And so what we're going to do is I'm just gonna look up a couple here. Yes, you are going to, LaShawn, you are going to be creating 3 pages. Your first one, excuse me, is going to be your mood board, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. The second page is going to be your poster, and then the 3rd page is going to be your reference list. So let's see. Paul Rand, Saul Bass, Lester Beal. I think we're going to go with Lester Beal this mod. Okay, so I'm going to look up some imagery here and just some, you know, examples of his work. Let's go with this guy right here. And let's see, we'll go with, no, I don't like that one. I like this one. You know, some 3 or 4 images would be good. Oh, this is an interesting one. I hadn't seen this one yet. There we go. One more. We'll go with one more. And it looks like I'm actually I'm coming up on like derivatives of art that was based on his work. Actually, what is this one? I don't like that one. Let's see. We'll go with this one, I guess. And actually, if you end up finding derivatives and you would rather use something that is based on his work, that's actually fine too. Whatever your imagery is, as long as it is reflective of their work, whether it's their work or, you know, someone has created something based on their work. Let me see if I can actually find the one that I did a couple mods ago. It was not mod one. Let's see, because I think live session. Yes, perfect. I actually found it very quickly. So I had done Saul Bass, oops, this particular mod for the demo. And so these were the images that I actually picked that were by him. Okay, but the 5th element one wasn't. The 5th element one was actually done by a different artist, and it may have been a student for all I know, but you know, it was very representative of his work, and I love that movie, so I used that as well. Okay. So I'm actually going to share my other screen real quick, because that's where my InDesign is ready to go, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use InDesign as instead of Illustrator. Okay, screen 2. There we go. So here we go. We've got new document. If it's going to open, there we go. Make sure to change this to inches, 11 by 17. And I'm actually just going to make 3 pages right away, because I know I'm going to need 3 pages. And that way I don't forget. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Okay. And also, before I forget, I am on my other screen. I'm copying the file naming convention right now. And I'm going to save. Oops, I don't want the PDF there. I'm going to save this right now. Okay, so now we have those things already set to go. Excuse me. All right, so now I'm going to make sure that I am actually holding control, which I think for you guys would be command. And I am going to make sure that I pull up all of the websites that I just grabbed all these images from. So I have this one right here, this one. I should have done this before when I was grabbing them, but I forgot to. So what else did I grab? I grabbed something that I can't find. Oh, here it is. Actually, is that it? Yeah. Okay, and then I had one more, one that I said that I hadn't seen yet before. Here it is. All right, so now you can see as I was holding down control, my tabs came up here. So now I'm actually going to just copy and paste these into my third page. Again, so I don't forget. 1, 2, 3. And I don't believe, I'm going to double check the rubric right now, but I do not believe you need to have APA format for this. But I will confirm that shortly. All right, we're going to make this a little bit bigger so we can read it. And actually, I actually don't want that in the center. I want that left justified because that'll be easier to read. References. Okay, so there's one. Go to my second. Design. And here is my third. Actually, it's not actually accurate. There we go. Ah, there we go. And actually, I'm going to have to do that here as well because the links that I copied were not right. Those are just for the little thumbnails. Okay. I actually think that this one right here, I think, was a derivative. All right, so I'm going to zoom out all the way up to the top of my page, and then before I forget, we're going to take a look at this rubric, see if it needed to be in APA format, which it does not. So we're good to go just as is. As long as you have the website there, that's fine. If you're not finding it in the website, just make sure that you make sure to include whatever it was, whatever book, magazine, whatever. Christina, what was your question? Whether or not it needed to be in APA format? Okay, perfect. You know what? Like I've been teaching this for a while, and I can't even remember which ones it needs and which ones it doesn't, which is why I needed to check the rubric. So there we go. All right, so I'm going to bring those images in now. They were on my desktop. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 4. I forgot I did 4 of them, so I got to go find. Well, you know what? I won't waste time actually going and finding the 4th one, but you guys know what to do. Just make sure you find that. Find all of the references. I'm going to shrink these down a little bit because as they stand right now, they won't fit on the page. Okay. And remember to save very often because we don't want you guys spending all sorts of time on work and then losing it because you didn't save and then your program crashed. Do you need to worry about bleed? Nope, because this is not getting printed. Nope, not getting printed. You can bring it all the way to the edge if you want. I'm not going to right now, but that's just an artistic license choice. So yeah, in this particular class, because nothing's actually getting printed, that's not a requirement, so you don't have to worry about it. That is a good question. Let's see, we'll put this guy up here. And so now right now, you're not really worrying too much about contrast since you're kind of like, well, I guess actually you could consider the size as contrast. So yeah, I guess so. Here I am, you know, kind of playing around with the sizes of the images over here. So kind of just arranging them in a manner that I like. Whoops, what happened there? Oh, I clicked D instead of S. So I have some imagery. And what were the other two requirements? Do you guys remember? Color swatches, perfect, yep. And one more. Text, perfect. We got some type samples and some color samples. I'm just gonna put some color in there real quick. And you know, I'll do one more. All right, so I've got some blocks right here that I'm gonna use for my swatches. You can arrange them however you want. Oh yes, and Beth, thank you, designer name, yep. Okay, I'm gonna just put them just like that, just because that's how I would like to arrange them. You can arrange them however you'd like. Remember, we did the swatches in the flashcards. And you know what, I'm actually gonna shrink this guy a little bit. I wanna give myself a little bit more room. Oops. For my type. Okay, so now Lester Beale here has kind of two different types of typefaces that he likes to use. There's your basic sans serif font he uses. You know, this one's kind of a little bit more like a Helvetica Inserat kind of, you know, where it's a little bit skinnier, nice and tall. He also has actually down here though, this one is probably more Franklin Gothic, so it's a little bit thicker and wider. So this actually would be an example of contrast. We have this sans serif font here, which is nice and tall. This one is kind of short and fat. He also likes to use this one right here. I actually have not narrowed down what that font might be, but I mean, essentially is a bold font. It's got some serifs, almost has like a little bit of an athletic look to it almost. I wouldn't necessarily call it an athletic font, but kind of similar. So, oh, and actually we even have another, let me see if I can get that, there we go. Another type of font right here. That's more like a stencil, like typewriter kind of font. I don't see that very often, but that obviously doesn't mean that he didn't use it. So we have a couple of them, you know, and I'll even use that in my examples here. So I'm going to put Lester Beale. Oops. For God's sakes. Apparently my shift key is not working with my B. There we go. And let's make it bigger. Okay, I'm going to have my name there, or his name. And I'm going to make a couple extra blocks just because I'm going to use some different type here. So, yeah, it does look a little bit like a military font. I think actually there's one, because you know what, there's like literally millions and millions of fonts out there. You can have the same font called 4 different things. So I think I actually might even have that as labeled as Army on one of my computers, and as stencil as another one. I think I have another version that's called Steamer. So it's really funny how, yeah, might have that. All right, here we go. Hettenschweiler. This is the one that I wanted though. Actually, is it? No, that's the one that I wanted. There we go. All right, and I said I wanted to find that like serif looking one, which I don't actually know if I even have anything similar to that. Actually, Rockwell might work. And we could just, yeah, there we go. It's not 100% like it, but it could work. Okay, and we'll do Rockwell extra bold. And I'll actually do Franklin Gothic for this one. regular. Actually, I want a bold one. There we go. Oop, I do that every single time with that font. All right, I am going to, you know what? I'm actually going to do this a little differently. I'm actually going to line these guys up just like this. I'm going to make them about the same size. They're all the same point right now, but as you can see, Franklin Gothic was a little bit bigger. So let's see what we got here. I'm going to make sure that they're all justified, and I think I'm going to actually try it on the right and see what that looks like. Sometimes that doesn't work, actually, especially when you don't line up your paragraph like that. So that was going to look really funky if I didn't change that. You know, and I'm going to shrink this guy just a little bit. Yeah, we'll put it right there. Give me some more room for my typefaces here. And I'm gonna make this one, I'll pick the Rockwell one. Okay. And ladies, if you have any questions, shoot them out as I'm doing this. I am checking the text here, the chat to see if anybody needs anything. Okay. And let's see, I am actually going to, I gotta do my swatches here. So let me see, we have some blues, some reds, some yellows, some black, some white, actually lots of black and white. You notice he's got some black and white photographs essentially almost in every single one. I'm explaining everything spot on, awesome. That's what I love to hear. All right, so you know what I'm actually gonna do then, because I don't like this right here, I would, you know what, this is what I'll do. This is totally unnecessary, but I'm gonna do it for aesthetic purposes to fill the space. Let's see, let's go 30, and let's see, start and end. I'm gonna, it's probably not the way that I want it to go though. Let me see, I don't know that I like any of those arrows, but because if you notice, a lot of his work has, oh, don't freeze on me. Could we use the color swatches with the font, or do they need to be? That's a great question. I actually have not had anybody ask that question. Excuse me. So Christina here is asking, could you use the, oh, goodness gracious, that's not what I wanted to do. Could you use the color swatches for your type? That's correct, right? Like you wanted to, for example, make this right here red. Is that what you were asking? Yeah, absolutely. You could totally do that, actually. That's a great question. And absolutely. There we go. I'm going to just extend that out just a little bit here. Come on, you. There we go, because I didn't want that there. All right, so now I feel like that kind of fills the space a little bit. Space might be an issue with the photos used. Yes, it might be. And that is one of the challenges in this particular field. So you'll notice here that I have, one horizontal, one here, and then the rest were vertical. You can arrange them however you want. If you want to make the ones that are having a problem, or that you're having a problem with, you want to make those much smaller, you can do that. If you want to arrange them all grid-like, that's fine too. You can overlap, you don't have to overlap. That is completely your call. Okay, so I'm gonna get, I'm gonna get my red here. I'm gonna get rid of that swatch, stroke. All right, we have some yellow. This is like a true yellow right here, but we have like a golden yellow that he likes to use too. So we're gonna do both. And let's see, I will actually sample that one and put, oh no, that's what I want. There we go. And I will actually leave the black one. Can you use a background color behind the images? Sure, why not? Absolutely. If you think it will enhance your project, you're more than welcome to. So I'm actually going to get rid of my margin right here, which is Control colon or Control semicolon, whatever you want to say, and or Command colon. So like LaShawn was just saying, if you wanted to use a background, you want to use a color, you want to use some kind of, as actually that even looks better. Well, aside from the fact that this guy right here is kind of blending in with it, you know, I could even just change this up right here. And my blue completely disappeared after using the blue background. So let's do this then. I will actually just change up the blue slightly. There we go. And actually I'll make this guy black. So if you think it will enhance your project, totally fine. Totally fine. So this is essentially what you would be doing for your mood board. You have a collection of imagery. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. As long as you have at least 3, you're good. If you want to do a few more than that, then it will enhance your mood board. That's totally fine too. We have the name of our artist. We have a couple of different type examples. And we have a collection of swatches. I'm actually going to group that together. Okay, so we've fulfilled all of those requirements so far. So now we move on to the poster. And holy crap, I really have 15 minutes left. I can't believe I am running so behind. Okay, let me open up Word again. And these are my my artist choices. I need to open the text. Okay, so now remember that come on you, there we go. Remember that this is just a draft. It does not have to be polished. You want to get it as complete as you can, but you will be making revisions, so don't freak out about it. So what we're going to do right now, excuse me, my goodness. What I had mentioned, you know, Lester Beal over here has a lot of black and white photographs. He has, let me see. Oh, you know what, actually? I will do something else, actually. Here's my Photoshop. There we go. So he has a lot of black and white photographs. A lot of them really kind of focused on everyday people or the working class, everyday items. You know, we have this person right here making God knows what, with God knows what, U.S. Department of Agriculture. So it obviously was something in the kitchen, or maybe from, maybe it was some sort of refinement kind of tool. Any of you guys know what this is? Feel free to jump in on that. And there, you know, there were even a lot of images on industry, you know, kind of like industrial tools and that kind of thing. He has a lot of arrows. He has a lot of sharp diagonal images. And, you know, because even though, for example, this white thing right here, they're not arrows, but they have that sharp diagonal. He has a tendency to kind of split his images in half. You know, so we have this horizontal line kind of cutting it across. And that could be, you know, this is the floor, this is the wall. Again, here, floor, wall. He even has this other, I think, oh, actually, you know what? That's not a floor and a wall. That is a, like a land that's, you know, grass or something, because we have a little house back here, and then this is sky. And then we have, like I said, for example, the industrial kind of imagery. I don't know what this is, but it's obviously some kind of machine. He does that too. If he's not using a wringer washer, perfect, there we go. It's very, very possible that it is that. I will take your word for it, because where I live, it's very, the town that I live in is very farm-like, but it's not the entire area. We're very tiny out here, so we're kind of surrounded by cities, much smaller cities. Excuse me. So, like I mentioned, you know, if he's not using these photographs, He very often is using these kind of silhouette imagery, you know, kind of like flat icons kind of type of work. So these are just a handful of the different kinds of items that you would find in his particular work. Rural electrification, admin on both posters. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So it's got to do with something. Got to do with some industry refining kind of thing. Now I'm gonna have to look, because now I want to know. So what I'm actually going to do, I actually have a couple of images that I have downloaded before, but have not used them yet. Where is my organized thing? And as you can see, I have a lot of old assignments in here from when I have been doing different demos. So let's see, paintbrush, that's not what I want. Paint splatter, nope. Oh, here it is, that's why. That's why. All right, I'm just opening that up in Photoshop right now. And I'll bring this over. I'm actually, I just opened it up in a different artboard. I didn't want to do that. I want to open it up on its own. There we go. So what I actually would probably do here is, oh, thank you. My damn allergies. I'm always coughing or clearing my throat. There we go. Okay. Oh, where did it go? There you are. I accidentally closed my chat. There we go. I don't have any paths here, so I'm not going to waste too much time with this, but I would probably do a little clipping path right around these guys, nice and carefully using the pen tool. I'm not going to do that right here because that would take way too much time, but that you will get a much cleaner selection if you do that. That was horrible. You'll get a much, much cleaner selection if you do that rather than doing what I am doing right now. I am doing what I am doing right now simply for the sake of time. But what I am going to try to do here is give you a basic idea, and then next week I'll actually post my final version of this assignment. I kind of like doing a before and after for the students, so you guys can kind of get an idea to see, you know, where something might actually have taken off. That tool, Beth, is actually, this one right here is the Lasso Tool. The one that I was just using is actually the quick selection tool. Comes in handy for, you know, quick selecting, I guess. Now they each have their own uses. All right, there we go. Just to kind of get an example. I am going to, whoops, put this on a new layer real quick so I can delete that one and get rid, oops, not get rid of the hands because that's actually what I want. I missed this part of the finger though. There we go. I'm going to select the background and get rid of it. And now I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file so that I can have that transparent background. And I'm also going to make this, and this is also kind of a bad example because I wouldn't be, excuse me, would not be doing it this way if this was my own work. I would actually probably be using an adjustment tool because you have a bit more control over the blacks and the whites in it. Actually, why is that not doing what I want it to? There we go, that's a bit better. Okay, so I have my black and white image. I'm going to open InDesign right back up and scroll down to where I started my poster. And I'm going to, I think actually, I am going to split this up into two pieces, just like he likes to do. And I'll make one, let's see, I'll go red on the bottom. and blue on the top. Just cause. Just cause. All right, I'm going to import my photograph. Whoops, I imported it right into my text, and I don't want to do that because I don't want to forget what I'm doing for my text here. There we go. So obviously I downloaded a really high resolution image because it was absolutely enormous. Okay. Actually, I'm going to probably set that as the baseline. There we go. All right, and let's see what I've got here. I've got 9 minutes is what I've got. I'm going to separate some of my information like I've done on the last couple of demos. You know, where I like to make sure that I don't miss any of my text copy. And that's just a little trick that I use. If it doesn't really work for you, that's okay. You know, if it makes more sense for you to type everything out in order to remember everything, if you like to do that first, that's fine. I sometimes find that getting all the information on the page first is more helpful for me. Okay, now that I've gotten all of my information in here, I'm going to save it again. And let's see. I'm going to make this the same width so that I can easily align, align these two because I want to make sure that that's in the center. There we go. And I think I'm going to work with Franklin Gothic just at least to start out and see. No, I don't like that one. Well, maybe I will. Yeah, there we go. Actually, I do like it actually as all caps. Now we want to make sure we increase some contrast here or create some contrast because I can't read that damn thing. There we go. Laying it out there helps you as well, Beth. I just find it so much easier. I started doing that when I was working at a coupon place, a direct mail place, and it just kind of seemed to help. You know what? I actually don't like that one. I think I like the other one. No. There we go. Yeah, I like that better. And I think I want to get rid of the caps there, and I want to make that, I want to make it italic, I think, just to make it stand out a little bit, not a ton. If my computer would stop being so difficult, I'll forget it. So we're gonna do the cheating way. There we go. And actually, I might change that up actually for next week for my final project. I'm not sure. All right, I'm gonna break this up just a touch. And actually, I was originally gonna put that just right there, but I think I'm actually gonna put it on the bottom right because I have this at the top left. Gotta balance it out a little bit. And right justify that. Actually, I don't like the word visit on the line all by itself. Yes, I agree, Beth. I didn't really like the way that the orangey yellow kind of looked that way. And actually, you know what? I'm kind of not liking this either. I'm gonna push that off to the side for a minute and work with this instead. Because sometimes you get going and you realize that what you were doing might actually, or what you wanted to try, might actually not work for you. All right, let's make this bigger. And you know what? I'm not sure what I want to do yet. Let's make these white. And I think I want to make these names a little bit bigger. Actually, yeah, I do want to do that. But I also first want to see how he lines some stuff up. Let's see. Graphic design. We got some stuff lined along the bottom. Got this in a diagram. You know what? Yeah. We're going to change this up right here. And I am going to make a little, oops, little box here. Probably, I think I'm going to make that white. Actually, no, I'm going to make it gray. I'm going to make one of these guys. There we go, so that it matches. Create some repetition that way. Make this black. And, whoops, I'm grabbing the wrong thing here. Get out of there. Okay, I'm going to center this text within the box and then within this box as well. And then I want to create my diagonal that he likes to do so much. You know what? And I'm going to do it the other way. Yeah. Discovering design in America. There we go. I could probably tweak this forever. Sometimes starting all over is the way to do it. You know, it helps you start fresh, and you know, sometimes that is just what you need to do. You know, I never throw anything, I never delete anything until I'm pretty certain that that's what I want to keep. But sometimes completely starting over is what works. Okay, I'm gonna change the leading just a little bit so I can fit it in this red space, but I did want those names to be much bigger. And actually I need to make a little bit of spacing there though, because this was not going to work. And I think I want to actually increase, whoops, box isn't big enough. Okay, and I don't think I have, no, I don't have italics there either. So again, I'm cheating. Need a little bit more spacing here. Okay, so now we're kind of working. We have some good stuff going on. I still need to somehow include the date in the website. And since we only have 2 minutes left, I'm not going to go too much further into it, but I will post, you know, whatever my finished product is, either at the end of the week or maybe at the beginning of next week. How did I make it do the italics? So that's just a little shortcut, because every once in a while you come up with a font that doesn't have italics, but you can do, that's, it's called shearing, where you are, it's this tool right up here, okay? And you can do it a little bit gentle if you want. You could make it really extreme. I typically find 10 degrees is a pretty decent one to make it like a natural looking italic. You know, it doesn't actually change any, like, the style of it at all. It just kind of warps it. But that's kind of a little shortcut. If I either can't find the italic, or if that font doesn't have one, you know, it's just a little way to kind of get around that. So, I mean, there are definitely, I think I want to do that white. There are definitely some things in here that I want to change up. Can you make something bold if your font doesn't have it? Sure. I mean, you can, there are definitely ways that too. You can, well, let's say, for example, wait a minute, that has it. It's telling me it's white, but it totally is not. Okay, so let's say, for example, we have a black font. You could give it a little bit of a stroke. Like, that's obviously way too much. It's because you can't read it. But, you know, that might be That might be passable. You can do maybe 0.7 is passable. Another way to do it is to do an offset path, but that might actually just end up being that too much work. And especially since actually, I think the offset path would be in Illustrator. So the easier way would be to just to do the stroke here. But yeah, you learn different kind of workarounds as you go. You know, as when you come up with those different problems, you kind of figure out different solutions. So we are a little bit behind. So let me quickly go over the assessment, which it won't take long since I can't do a demo of it, but I do want to make sure that I touch upon it. And I love the fact that you ladies have been asking questions as you go. Because you know, you obviously make sure that you remember it. So we did go through this, we touched upon it a little bit yesterday, where I kind of went over the messages. Essentially for the assessment, you're going to be talking about, or you're going to be working on what we've been talking about this week, or what the readings have been talking about in terms of social media and how, you know, the social media world has just kind of blown up, and there's a lot of design out there. Really, it's just everywhere. One of the things to remember is with social media ads, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or, you know, just really anything, LinkedIn for, you know, even is like that. You only have a couple of seconds to catch the reader's eye, to catch their attention. I learned this in one of my web design classes. You have about 10 seconds, and that's probably being really generous. If an individual is on your website and they are struggling at all to find what it is they're looking for, they won't continue to look, they'll go somewhere else. Same thing with social media. You have about 5 seconds to catch their attention as they're scrolling by your feed. That's what's going to make them stop. And so you need to try to come up with an image that is going to engage their emotion. That's what's going to make them stop. And very often you want to have some kind of catchy photograph, maybe some bright colors, things like that. That's also going to really make them, that's going to draw them in. The text is not what's going to draw them in. The text is what's going to tell them why they're looking at it. You know, so you want to keep it nice and simple. Excuse me. And so, you know, these three things are essentially the kind of like the main components of designing for social media. So you're going to have 3 different banners that you're going to be doing for this assessment. One is going to be for a fitness club. Find your superpower. Join today for $5, limited time only. You can play around with the punctuation. You do not need the semicolon. That's simply for it being laid out here. Same thing here. You can arrange them however you like. Just keep the principles in mind. Contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity. For text, it's really going to be, for these anyways, it's really going to be, you know, alignment and proximity with a little bit of contrast. For client number 2, it's a budget travel website, so your message is dream with your eyes wide open. Again, you can play with the punctuation. For the grocery delivery service, delicious delivered daily. Start your free trial today. I can't believe I didn't mess that one up as I was talking. And again, punctuation, play around with it, whatever makes sense, whatever reads the most sense. Your assignment or your assessment for this week is going to be done in Photoshop, not Illustrator, not InDesign. You're going to make it a 1200 pixel by 628 pixel image, and we're using pixels because it's going to be on screen. You're going to create one Photoshop file that's going to have 3 artboards, and I will be posting an announcement with some help on those, with instructions for that in the event that you are having trouble. There are tutorials and everything out there as well, so if I haven't posted it by the time you get to it, you know, can absolutely find something out there. And then use some of the stock photo sites that I have mentioned. I have done it in the announcements. Oh, for crying out loud. I think it was one of the very first announcements. It had both of the, that's why I try to do it right at the beginning of the mod. Right, where are you? Oh, where are you? Did I skip it? Oh, this would be great if I didn't do it, because then I'm kicking myself. Yep, because now I can't even see it. I will make sure that I post it, because it had, oh, there it is. I did it yesterday. Photos and clip art. This has the photo sites and the vector sites. You know, we kind of were using one of those last week. This has a whole bunch of them. Each one of these links has a whole bunch on there, so you can find something that will work for you. Find an image that works, lay some text in there, play around with some effects if you think that would work. For the benchmarks, I mean, I know that we looked at this one yesterday. This individual obviously used some lighting effects to kind of do like a little dreamy, ethereal kind of look to it. If it's appropriate, you know, absolutely experiment. And then you'll be saving your Photoshop file, you know, your native file, and then you'll be saving the Photoshop file as a PDF. You'll be exporting that as a multi-page PDF. That also kind of causes a little bit of trouble, but I do have some information to be posted about that as well. And then your standard naming convention right there. So you looked through this morning, Beth, good. I mean, there's so much out there. I mean, you could literally spend hours and hours looking at all that stuff, and don't pay for anything right now. You know, maybe once you get into the quote-unquote professional world, but there's so much free stuff out there that you guys don't need to be paying for anything. So that's it. Let me just make sure. I don't think I missed anything in my presentation, but let me make sure. Well, I do have this right here. Hold on. Just for the assignment, we just went over it, but assessment 3 tips: combining the text and the imagery, because like we mentioned, the imagery is what's going to catch their eye, the text is what's going to deliver the message. Completely different way of looking at the principles this time, because you know you need to make sure that you're placing the imagery in an area where it's going to be seen, it's going to be able to be read, but it's not distracting from the image, which is obviously what drew your attention in there. Pick an image wisely. You very often want to see if you can find something. If you're looking for, let's say, and I wouldn't necessarily do this for an ad, I wouldn't Google something, but just to kind of give you a better idea than scrolling through some stuff. So this might be a nice image for, maybe if it was a flower shop, you know, for right up here, you can put a little blurb, or maybe they have a sale going on and they want to put a little burst right here with, you know, just the name of their shop right below. You know, something simple, but the image is really pretty. So you kind of maybe want to see if you can find, actually even this one, it's a completely black background, but it would be really nice to just have a little quick message, even if it's just in white, you know, really stark, nice contrast there. So you want to make sure you're not putting text over something that's going to be fighting with it. Can you use photos you've taken? Absolutely. And if you do that, let me know, because I'd love to actually be looking at that particularly. That'd be really interesting. So there we go. Choose your image wisely. Choose your font wisely. Same thing. You know, don't get too crazy with fonts if it's going to end up competing with the image. And if you guys are having trouble and you need some help looking for some effects, come see me in the multi-session. We can go over stuff, as always. So remember, multi-session is Thursday, 12:30 to 2:30 Mountain Time. It's the same link as the classroom. I have had a couple people come in, but not a ton. And that is it. Want to make sure I got over those. I know that we're a little bit over, but you ladies have been especially patient this week, or this week today. Do any of you have any questions for me? Hey, no. All right. Okay. Well, we got 4 no's. Great. I hope that all of you watching the recording today also don't have questions, but if you do, hit me up with my, the phone number, text me, email me, come in the multi-session, whatever you got to do. Want to make sure you guys all finish this class strong. We got a week and a half, it looks like, left. Well, it's Monday. Yeah, we got 2 weeks left. But thank you, ladies, for coming on in. I hope you all have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you all tomorrow for, no, I'm sorry, not today's Tuesday. Oh my God. Tuesday, right? Yeah, Tuesday. Holy crap. But anyways, all right, so I will hopefully see you guys on Thursday, or I will see you next week in the session. Have a good one, everybody.